We are gathered here today because we are hungry for... poetry! For what? Poetry! For what? Poetry!
Scratch it.
It's like 1,000 Rastas drumming.
Like 1,000 rockers banging their heads.
Yeah. Like 1,000 ravers kicking their feet.
Like 1,000 Sufi mystics twirling.
No, you know what it's like? It's like 1,000 Shaolin monks.
The rhythm whispers ride me subliminally, empathically.
Telepathically they know my name, or more honestly
have control, my old soul.
And this gypsy poet reminded me we've all been here before.
Remember, I was dancing in the firelight.
Some things remain animalistic, akin to running from gunshot ballistics.
Ringing deafening death sentences and drum beats beating the hearts of our darkness.
I'm a spoken word poet, which means I write poetry that's meant to be spoken. I follow in the oral tradition that was started with African griots thousands of years ago and continues to this day all over the world, from Bamako to Ottawa to Toronto to Beijing. So I follow humbly in the footsteps of that tradition.
Said with national borders we just be wasting space, y'all. Check it out. I got wealth from all places like an axe and might. I check the ancient books to verify my facts are tight. I write your power like when the moon's waxing bright. Always in shades of brown and grey, cause nothing's black and white. Sages taking middle pass and winning the race. It's from them I write these poems and for them I offer praise.
One of the greatest things that you were given, or at least I was given being born a native English speaker, was hip-hop. And the ability to listen to a hip-hop song and understand what they're saying. I think so much more of the emotion that's conveyed through poetry performance actually is not directly attached to words. Even though it seems like it's attached to words, to me it's more attached to intention and to expression. And I mean, those are universal things that transcend culture.
The music that you all listen to is written by a musician, and it is actually just poetry to music. And all poetry is a creative process expressed through literary techniques, through writing, through poetry, through music, whatever. So all forms of writing, as far as I'm concerned, are poetry.
Poet came to my school when I was 9, from my hometown to where I'd moved to. So he was a poet from Barnsley called Ian Macmillan, and then he was just brilliant.
It's another avenue for kids to experience performance. And much of the music that we have to teach, or that is suggested that we teach in school, is Western-based, Mozart, Beethoven, stuff that to them is old and irrelevant, and they learn it because I tell them they have to. And I wanted them to experience something that they know, that they understand, and without me having to do a whole lot of introduction, this they get. So I figured they needed to see this live. It's rhythm, it's beat, it's so much of... Music was a vocal experience long before it was ever instrumental. And so this is where it comes from. So this is where it started.
You've got all the art forms expressed on television and in the media. The only thing that you haven't got is poetry, right? But poetry gave birth to theatre, poetry gave birth to rap, I mean, poetry gave birth to storytelling. I mean, they used to learn hours and hours of stuff 2,000 years ago. And the reason it was in patterned language and rhythm language is because you can't memorize it otherwise. That is why, you know, they do use it. It's not prose-like, it is patterned language because it's much easier to remember things.
Time waits for no island. Monsoons sweep in over long lazy days. Roads, they pave the way for new adventures. Bend like bamboo to weather the change. Bend like bamboo to weather this change. Progress may conquer paradise, no guarantee that time might fade. To think that life won't redress the balance, the biggest mistake I ever made. The biggest mistake I ever did make.
In every society there exist traditional storytellers whose role it is to tell the sentiments and the loves and the history, most importantly, the history of the people in which they're living. And a people without their history is nothing.
First you start telling the truth about yourself. You can be honest with yourself, about yourself, to your friends, your peers, your contemporaries. then people will say, yo, John, I had a similar experience as you because I'm also a black man. And then we can get into a little community. If you can't wrap your head around higher concepts than that, you're gonna be trapped forever in some little box that somebody else has created for you.
Issues of capitalism, wage slavery, or any ism, sexism, capitalism, racism, all these awful isms that are becoming schisms, that, like, to use a Rasta expression, the ism schisms that are tearing our world apart. I guess I'm trying to use my poetry as a salve, as a balm, to try to heal that wound.
It's a huge issue for me is identity. It's, for me, I mean, you know, I'm standing here on this beach in Auckland, it's my home, I look like I belong here, don't I? But, you know, every day I'm always reminded that I maybe don't belong here by people who ask me, really innocently, where are you from? You know, what language do you speak? And for me, I think it's pretty obvious I speak English, but, you know, it's my first language. I write in English, I've got a master's degree in English. But people still come and ask me and they compliment me in my good English.
Fluid to white out all word, truth trace of everyone that was here before until everything was erased. And so we call this country a whiteout, a whitewash,
a clean white page.
Let's write it out on the walls of the Big Brother diary room.
Race in Australia is a white problem.
A white issue.
An Anglo,
Bingo,
Munniger,
Skip,
Gubba,
White Ant,
Honky Hullabaloo. You too?
I do.
Me too. I'm going to sit this country down.
Drop all the simplistic bullshit about good and evil.
It's time we had a good hard look at our people.
If you come from a multicultural background like I do, oftentimes politicians sort of toss the words such as, you know, Asian Australians or Aboriginal people, they toss them around and use them as political pawns, you know, and you don't actually hear from those people themselves. And for somebody such as myself who inhabits more of a hybrid space in Australian society, I guess, it's important for me to be able to have my own voice instead of being spoken for by somebody else. You see, I'm sitting in my living room, calm and collected, feeling mad, I've got to get mine respected. My perspective raised by two cultures, but I move backwards, my feet dyslexic. And it's hectic, that's why I've got to aim at the youth. I hear cliches, I'll try to spit a grain of the truth. Racist roots run deep, board shorts to law courts, politically correct or polite. It's all talk.
We get up in front of our audience right there in the moment and offer what we have.
If you don't think that you have a huge responsibility, find a poet that got murdered, hung, tortured, exiled, and then ask yourself if you can do what they did. And if you knew that it was gonna happen, would you do it anyway? I would.
Hip-hop, poetry, spoken word, when we decide it to be, can be a powerful tool for grassroots democracy and for the sharing of ideas.
It's a revolutionary weapon for universal love and joy and truth. So check it out.